Nick Newman has spent much of his life believing he can handle anything on his own. But after his relapse, that belief became one of the biggest dangers standing between him and recovery. He kept his struggles hidden, convinced he could regain control whenever he wanted, while the people around him remained unaware of just how serious things had become. That changed after one terrifying night with Marie. Marie's situation forced Nick to see addiction from a completely different perspective. She had already experienced treatment, disappointment, and repeated setbacks, and she had reached a point where she no longer believed she could build a life beyond addiction. Watching her struggle became a painful warning for Nick. For the first time, he was forced to consider where his own path could lead if he continued pretending he could manage everything alone. Nick tried to help Marie, but the more he learned about her situation, the more he saw himself in it. He realized that determination alone wasn't enough. Addiction wasn't something he could simply switch off whenever he decided he was ready to change. And that realization finally pushed Nick to make the choice he had been avoiding. Instead of disappearing, making another promise to himself, or trying to handle the situation alone, Nick reached out to Sharon. That phone call may have been one of the most important decisions he has made since his addiction resurfaced. For Nick, asking Sharon for help wasn't just about getting back to rehab, it was about finally admitting the truth. He couldn't control everything by himself, and pretending otherwise was only making things worse. Sharon has been someone Nick could turn to during some of his darkest moments. She represents a level of trust and emotional safety that Nick desperately needs right now. By choosing to call her, Nick chose connection instead of isolation. That doesn't mean his recovery is suddenly going to be easy. One phone call cannot erase the relapse, repair every damaged relationship, or guarantee that Nick won't struggle again. Recovery is a long process, and Nick still has plenty of difficult choices ahead of him. But this moment matters because Nick finally stopped fighting the truth. For so long, he focused on other people's problems and carried guilt over everything happening around his family. He tried to protect everyone, fix situations, and convince himself that he could keep moving forward without confronting what was happening inside him. Marie became the wake-up call he needed. Her story showed Nick what could happen if he continued down the same road. She wasn't simply another person caught in his crisis. She became a reflection of the future Nick could face if he refused to get serious about recovery. And that may be why this moment feels different. Nick didn't suddenly become stronger because he handled everything alone. He became stronger because he finally admitted that he needed someone else. That is a huge step for someone who has always tried to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. Now, the real question is whether Nick can turn this moment of honesty into lasting change. Will he stay committed to recovery when the pressure returns? Can he rebuild the trust he has damaged? And will Sharon be able to help him stay on the right path when things become difficult again? For the first time in a while, Nick has given himself a genuine opportunity to recover. He hasn't solved everything yet, but he has finally taken the most important step. He stopped hiding and asked for help. And sometimes admitting you can't do it alone is where real recovery finally begins.